before history, where myth and truth intertwined, when the gods walked among mortals, and when blood was the only language the world understood, there, on the banks of a sacred river, a story was born that history would never forget. The story of a city that would rule the world. The story of brothers whose fate would be written in blood. The story of a she-wolf who would become a symbol of eternity. This is the story of Rome. Before Rome was born, there was another city, an ancient city, located in the heart of Old Italy, between the Green Hills and the sacred Lake Albano. Its name, Alba Longa. Legends say this city was founded by Ascanius, son of the legendary Trojan hero Aeneas, that prince who fled from a burning Troy, carrying his old father on his shoulders and the gods of his city in his heart. Aeneas, chosen by the fates to be the grandfather of the Roman people. But that is a story for another time. Today, we are in the 8th century BC. In Alba Longa, there was a king. His name was Numitor. Numitor was a wise and just man, loved by his people. He ruled his kingdom with justice and mercy, and he had a son and a daughter. The daughter was Rhea Silvia. Beautiful, pure of heart, like moonlight on the surface of the water. But, as legends always teach us, goodness is rarely left to flourish in peace. Numitor had a brother. His name, Amulius, and Amulius carried something black in his heart: envy, greed, a lust for power. On a dark night, the details of which no one knows for sure, Amulius did the unthinkable. He turned on his brother, betrayed his own blood. He drove Numitor from the throne and declared himself king of Alba Longa. He killed Numitor's son, so there would be no male heir to claim the throne. But what about Rhea Silvia? Amulius was clever. He didn't kill his niece. Spilling direct royal blood might anger the people. Instead, he chose a crueler fate for her. He forced her to become a Vestal Virgin. The Vestal Virgins were sacred priestesses in the ancient Roman religion. Their sole duty was to guard the sacred fire in the temple of the goddess Vesta, goddess of the hearth and home. And they had to remain virgins their entire lives. Any violation of this vow was punishable by death. Thus, Amulius ensured that Rhea Silvia would have no children, that there would be no heirs for Numitor, that there would be no one to threaten his throne. But the gods had other plans. One night, while Rhea Silvia was sleeping in the temple, the legend says that Mars, the god of war himself, descended to her. Some say he appeared to her in a dream. Others say he came to her in human form. Modern historians are skeptical, of course. Some say Rhea Silvia may have been forced, or perhaps she loved a man in secret. The story of the god Mars may have been a cover to protect her honor or to justify what happened. But myths are not written with logic. Myths are written with faith. And whether Mars was real or not, the result was the same. Rhea Silvia was with child. When Amulius discovered the truth, he was enraged. How dare she, a Vestal Virgin, pregnant? This is a desecration of the sacred. Amulius had Rhea Silvia arrested. The traditional punishment for a Vestal virgin who broke her vow was to be buried alive, but Amulius hesitated. Perhaps he feared the wrath of the gods if the story of Mars was true, or perhaps he didn't want to appear cruel before the people. So he decided to wait. He imprisoned her until she gave birth, and then he would dispose of the children. In the spring of 753 BC, in a dark cell, Rhea Silvia gave birth. No, not to one child. Twins, 2 boys. She named them Romulus and Remus. She looked at them, and she knew. She knew that this might be the only moment she would ever hold them, because Amulius had already given his order. The order was clear, simple, cruel. Take the 2 infants and throw them into the Tiber River. The Tiber River, the sacred river that would one day become the beating heart of Rome. At that time, it was merely a grave. The guards came. They took the infants from their mother's arms. Rhea Silvia could do nothing. She screamed, she begged, but no one listened. They carried the twins in a small basket and walked toward the river. But the guards who were sent to carry out the order, they were not monsters. They were men, men with hearts. When they reached the riverbank, they looked at the 2 infants. They saw their innocence. They heard their faint cries. And perhaps they felt something: regret, mercy, fear of the gods' wrath. They did not throw the infants directly into the deep water. Instead, they placed the basket gently at the river's edge, in the shallow water, leaving it to the fates. Then they returned and told Amulius that the deed was done. The basket floated on the water. The current carried it gently. The river was calm that day, as if the gods themselves were guiding its path. The sun was setting, golden light reflecting on the water's surface, and the basket moved slowly toward an unknown destiny. Inside it, 2 infants, knowing nothing of the world, not knowing their grandfather had been deposed, not knowing their mother was imprisoned, not knowing their great-uncle had tried to kill them. All they knew was hunger and cold and the instinctual fear of being alone. The basket continued its journey until it reached an area that would one day become the greatest city in the world. There were 7 hills, small green hills overlooking the river: the Palatine Hill, the Capitoline Hill, the Aventine Hill, the Quirinal Hill, the Viminal Hill, the Esquiline Hill, the Caelian Hill. These hills were inhabited by small tribes of shepherds and farmers. A simple life, quiet, far from politics, betrayal, and blood. And there, at the base of the Palatine Hill, the basket became stuck. Night had fallen. Darkness covered the place, and the basket was stuck between branches and rocks. The 2 infants were crying from hunger, from the cold. Then a sound was heard. Footsteps, light but strong. From the darkness, she appeared. A she-wolf, her eyes gleaming in the dark, her fur gray like silver under the moonlight. She approached slowly, sniffed the air. The infants stopped crying for a moment, as if they sensed something. The she-wolf reached the basket. She looked at the two infants, and in that moment, something inexplicable happened. The she-wolf did not devour them. She did not harm them. Instead, she lay down beside them and began to nurse them. That night, under a sky full of stars, in a desolate wilderness on the banks of the Tiber, two human infants suckled from the teat of a she-wolf. Why did she do it? Had she lost her own cubs and felt a maternal instinct? Or was it the gods who sent her? The Roman historian Livy tells this story with all seriousness. The Greek historian Plutarch adds more detail. But did this really happen? Some scholars say that the word lupa in ancient Latin was sometimes used to describe a prostitute. Perhaps it was a woman of this kind who saved the twins. And perhaps the story transformed over time into the legend of the she-wolf. But the Romans themselves believed in the she-wolf. They made statues of her. They depicted her on their coins. They made her the symbol of their city. And whether she was a real wolf or a woman or a divine miracle, the result was the same. Romulus and Remus survived. The next morning, a shepherd was passing through the area. His name, Faustulus. Faustulus was a simple shepherd who worked for King Amulus, a kind-hearted, humble man living a quiet life with his wife, Acca Laurentia. And suddenly, he saw something strange, a basket by the river, and next to it, a she-wolf, and the she-wolf was nursing two infants. Faustulus stopped. He held his breath. Then, slowly, he approached. The she-wolf looked at him. For a moment, it seemed as if she would attack, but she didn't. As if her task was done, she stood up, looked at the infants one last time, then she disappeared into the wilderness. Faustulus approached the basket. He picked it up, looked at the two infants. They were beautiful, strong, alive. He looked around. No one. He decided to take them. He carried them and returned to his home. When his wife, Acca Laurentia, saw the infants, she smiled. She didn't ask where they came from. She didn't ask why he brought them. She just opened her arms and embraced them. And so, in a small, humble hut on the slope of the Palatine Hill, Romulus and Remus found a home.
The years passed. Romulus and Remus grew up. At first, they were just ordinary children, playing, running among the sheep, helping Faustulus herd the flock. But as time went on, people began to notice something different about them. They were stronger than the other children, smarter, braver. They would lead the other children in their games, settle disputes, protect the weak. And when they became young men, they became leaders, not just among the shepherds, but among all the young men in the area. They organized hunting parties, protected villages from robbers, defended the weak against injustice. And slowly, rumors began to spread. Who are these two young men? Where did they come from? Why do they seem different?
Then something happened, something that would change everything. One day, Remus and some of his companions were herding sheep near the borders of Alba Longa. Suddenly, a group of King Amulius's men appeared. They were looking for thieves. They saw Remus and assumed he was one of them. "Seize him!" Remus fought back. He was strong, but there were too many of them. They took him to Alba Longa, to the palace of King Amulius. In the throne room, Remus stood in chains before King Amulius. Amulius had grown old, but his eyes were still sharp, cruel. He looked at Remus, a strong young man, proud, unafraid. And in that moment, something stirred in Amulius's mind. This young man reminded him of something, of someone, but who? Before he could think further, another man entered the hall. It was Numator, the deposed king, who still lived in the palace as a half-forgotten prisoner. When Numator saw Remus, he stopped. He stared at him. Something in this young man's face, something in his eyes, reminded him of his daughter, Rhea Silvia. Numator approached. "Who are you? Where do you come from? Who are your parents?" Remus answered honestly, "I don't know. I was raised by a shepherd named Faustulus. He and his wife found me when I was an infant." Numator felt something stir in his chest. Hope? Fear? Found? Where? "By the Tiber River. Faustulus says a she-wolf was nursing me and my twin brother." Numator froze. A twin? The Tiber River? A she-wolf? In that moment, Numator knew. At the same time, elsewhere, Romulus had learned of his brother's capture. He gathered his companions, they armed themselves, and they headed to Alba Longa. In the palace, Numator took Remus aside. He told him everything about Rhea Silvia, about the twins, about Amulius's order to kill them. Remus couldn't believe it, but everything started to make sense. And when Romulus reached the palace, he stormed in with his companions. He was looking for his brother, but he found more than that. He found his grandfather. He found his truth. What happened next was swift, violent, decisive. Romulus and Remus, with their companions and with the support of Numator and some nobles who secretly hated Amulius, stormed the throne room. Amulius tried to escape, but there was no escape. In that moment, the tyrant's reign ended. Amulius was killed by the very twins he had tried to kill years ago. The circle was complete. Numator returned to the throne. The people celebrated. Justice had triumphed. Rhea Silvia was released from prison. She saw her sons for the first time in years. She embraced them. She cried. She laughed. It was an impossible reunion. But Romulus and Remus did not stay in Alba Longa.
Numitor offered them a place to stay, to be princes, to one day inherit the throne. But they refused. Why? Because they had seen something else. As they were growing up on the banks of the Tiber, on those 7 hills, they felt something. They felt that there was another place for them, a place they could build with their own hands. They said to their grandfather, "We want to build our own city, on the hills where we were found, where the she-wolf saved us, where our story began." And so, in the spring of 753 BC, Romulus and Remus returned to the hills. With them, a group of young men, shepherds, farmers, warriors, men seeking a new beginning. They stood atop the Palatine Hill. They looked to the horizon. And in that moment, they decided to build a city that would become the greatest city in history. But before Rome could be built, there was one more thing that had to happen first. Something tragic, something inevitable. Because the city of Rome would not be built on love and brotherhood alone, but with blood as well. 2 brothers, 1 dream, but 2 different visions. Who will lead? Who will rule? Who will give his name to the eternal city? In the next episode, we will witness the birth of Rome, but we will also witness the first blood spilled on its sacred ground, the blood of a brother. This was the first episode of Nox Romana, the founding myth. In the next episode, the city of 7 hills, the founding of Rome, 753 BC. Until then, sleep well and dream of wolves and hills and legends. Good night.